My name is Murawski, otherwise known as Vic, V-I-C-K, and I'm the technical director here at GableStage. So I have been in and around performing arts since as long as I can remember. I started out performing at a very young age. I think I went to my first dance class at 3 years old. Started singing at the age of 7, and by 9 I was acting in shows. And I did that all the way up until college. And I actually went to Kent State University and decided while I was there that there was so much outside of performing of theater that was interesting to me. And I ended up getting a part-time job at the Scene Shop, which, if you're not familiar, is a carpentry shop that builds the scenery for all of the sets for a theater. So I got a job there at school and just really fell in love with it. I fell in love with the creative and technical side of it, how you can think outside of the box, and how every show is different. So I followed that along, and here I am now. My journey has been a long one. I came into this position that never really evolved since the beginning of GableStage's conception. So I worked really hard to try to utilize the resources that we have to try to make them better, all the way from purchasing new tools to building crates that can hold the tools, to building and organizing shelving within our storage spaces inside of the theater, in our storage basement, and in our offsite warehouse. It's been a lot of just organizing and figuring out what we have and try to update our resources. If I'm loading in a show actively, meaning there's no performance running, I am usually here by 6 a.m. I will do some last minute shopping in the morning. Home Depot workers early in the morning now know my face because I'm there every day. I'm preparing for the crew call to start. So our crew typically starts at 8 a.m. and we have anywhere from 2 to 7 to 10 people at a time come in. And a lot of my day is just supervising them and making sure that they have everything they need to complete the task and to finish what we need to get done for that day. So it's a lot of supervising and scheduling and organizing on my part. There's a lot of challenges with this set. The sheer size of the set was a really big challenge because of the magnitude of the build and what we needed to construct and bring into the space. It is the biggest set that I have personally built here at GableStage. And not only is it 2 stories tall, but there's a lot of components that go out into the audience as well that had to be custom made. So there was not only a sheer magnitude of build that had to be done for it, but there was also a lot of tricks that had to be done with it. Specifically, the ending sequence at the end of the show, there's a lot of old theater tricks, a couple magic tricks here and there that kind of make you feel like the house is deteriorating right before your eyes. The most rewarding moment was to see it all completely done with the actors on stage, with the lighting in place and the projection and the sound, and being able to see a few moments of the whole production come together into this final art form piece. It's been super rewarding to see all the hard work really paid off in the end. So Frank and I have been working together for a few years right now, and I feel like we've got a really good structure down on how we kind of deal with sets. It starts with a preliminary meeting. For the show, we actually got the preliminary design back in August. So the first kind of meetup that we have is to talk about the bones of the set, really. What the overall aesthetic is going to look like, what the bigger components of it is, that there is a second level, there's a sweeping curved staircase, there's these giant columns, this beautiful curved cornice in the air. So we talk a lot about the bones and how we want to build that. And also try to talk about trying to fit it within a budget, being a nonprofit and all. So once we kind of get through that first preliminary meeting, we then have another kind of check-in meeting to review budget and stuff, and that's more when we get into the nitty-gritty of it, so the details of it, what the paint finishes is going to be, what the furniture pieces are going to do, what the fabric is going to end up looking like in the end, what the trimming and everything. All of those little pieces kind of come in and filter in after that. And once we start loading, I essentially call Frank every single day and say, is this the detail that you're looking for? I want to make sure we're doing this correctly. And I get him on video call all the time just to really like nail down all the details. Teamwork is huge. I definitely could not do this alone without a huge team to back me up and support me. We have our production team here, led by Katie Ellison, our director of operations. Her and I work together to make sure that we can order all the materials in a timely fashion, that we can schedule the crew to come in, and that we can talk about the priorities of the order of which we need to do things. Obviously starting with the structure of everything, and then we talk about adding the fabric after that, and then we talk about the paint. And so her and I work together really, really closely to kind of figure out the scheduling part of it. And she helps me with, some other administrative tasks like receipts and things. And then I have our master carpenter, Sean Deem, who leads up a lot of the actual physical building. He's fantastic, and we're so lucky to have him. He's been able to take a lot of the projects that I've given him and kind of run with it and make it his own as well. And then we have Art Garcia, our master electrician, who basically handles anything with a plug. So he handles the lighting, sound, and projection department. And you can see on the set, there's a lot of practical lighting as well as some other practical fans and some hidden speakers. So we work together hand in hand to figure out a way to kind of bury that within the set, but still have it operational. And then we have a fantastic shop that we partner with that builds probably 75 to 80% of most of our sets, Production Design Resources. They build all the sets. We talk about drawings, talk about cheaper ways and faster ways to build things to make sure that everything's done on time. And then we have our part-time scenic crew that comes in for every load-in. That is a mixture of part-time employees as well as volunteers who volunteer their time to help us out to kind of meet our goal in the end. So many hours. I took some time this past week to kind of calculate how many hours I put into it since we received the preliminary back in August, and I think it's fair to say that there was probably over 1,000 hours of time for me personally and others on the team as well putting into the set, all the way from the last 22 weeks, from when we received that first preliminary design all the way through our first load-in that we had, all the way through the second load-in that we had through Tech Week and into opening. So there's easily thousands of hours between me and my whole crew putting into this set to make sure that it's finished on time. The work, as I mentioned, began in late August when we received the preliminary design. There's a pre-planning phase that kind of goes into budgeting it and determining how we're going to build it and figuring out the overall scheduling. For this show, we were lucky enough to be able to kind of load it in months ahead of time before the previous show, Both Sides Now, opened. So during King James, we were doing a lot of planning and budgeting, and we had our shop, Production Design Resources, building during the run of King James. So when King James struck, we actually immediately put up the appropriate set, the main structure behind us. So the platforming, the columns, pretty much this whole structure behind us. And then when we did Both Sides Now, we hung a curtain to hide all of it behind it. So we were working behind the curtain while Both Sides Now was running. So we're working behind the curtain doing that. During some of the off days of Both Sides Now, like the Monday and Tuesday or even Thursday, Friday mornings before performances, me and my crew were in here and building a lot of the elements that you see in the house. So the flooring, the wall structure, the trimming around there, a lot of that was done during Both Sides Now. So after Both Sides Now closed, then we officially started our load-in, or what we're calling our second load-in of the schedule. And that started on January 6th and pretty much went all the way through opening. Pay attention to the design elements in the set and the furniture pieces and the props and the set dressing, because everything has a story to tell. It has a reason behind why it looks like that and why it acts like that. There's a lot of things written into the script that the set has to do. So we had to design a set that was not only aesthetically pleasing, but also functional. So if you're seeing things along the set and you're said, why does it look like that? Stay to the end of the show and you'll find out why it looks like that. So yeah. The ending sequence has its own stack of challenges that come with it, for sure, because there are things written into the script on what's supposed to happen, and then there is the vision of the director and the designers of how they want it to look when it happens. So when you're dealing with such a customizable trick that has to happen, I rely kind of heavily on some like older theater and magic tricks to make it happen. But you know, for anything like that, like a theater trick like that, they don't make something off of the shelf that you can just buy and put it together and it does exactly what you want. So we're having to kind of lean back on some older style tricks, strategically placed hinges and magnets and pulleys and lines that you necessarily wouldn't see right away. So a lot of it's challenging because it's not off the shelf hardware. We have to create it ourselves, and there's a few pieces that we had to weld and create ourselves to make some of these tricks work as well.
And do you have like people that are doing some of the things during the tricks as well?
Yeah, so the crew members, during that ending sequence, it would be really funny if you could see on a map how they're running around the set, because there's one over here pulling a pulley to make a trick happen, and then they're running over here while someone else is making a trick happen, and then they're running around here to make the third person do the trick correctly. So during that ending sequence, they're kind of running around and they're really getting in their workout for the day to kind of make sure they hit all their marks with those tricks. Usually the process starts with the last performance ending on a Sunday afternoon, and my crew comes in immediately afterwards to start removing the props and the set dressing and start tearing down the set. This strike will be a little bit different because we do have a couple events that are happening right after the performance, both on Sunday and Monday, so I don't really get to strike the set until Tuesday. But typically, I think a set of this size would take about 3 days to fully disassemble and kind of get it out of here and store what we can in our warehouse. So I'm hoping that the Friday after opening, we can officially start the load-in for summer 1976. I think they can expect a lot of levels within this set. The set seems to be kind of flat because you have the main set, and then you have the main floor, and then you have the second floor, and then some playing space in the audience. So you kind of only have those 3 levels. With summer 1976, the designer Frank Oliva is basically doubling that and tripling that and giving the actors kind of this interesting blocky jungle gym to play within the different scenes and to play on, and I think it's going to be very visually interesting kind of watching them move throughout the set and kind of go up and down and back and in and out of these different scenes and these different characters. The thing I enjoy most about working at GableStage is the people, for sure. It's incredible to work with a group of people that are not only passionate about theater and creating the art form, but are dedicated to it. They're excited to be here. So having that type of energy around you with people who are excited to be creating this new art form and supporting you in it in any way that they can is truly rewarding, because it's not just a one-person team. There's so many of us that really go into making it happen.